we were talking about the rod and spanking. I want to really, really stress this fact. Do never spank a child with your hand. Never with your hand, with whatever else you can get in your hand, but not your hand. The interesting thing is, they never associate the punishment or the spanking with you if you use an implement. Even if you take out your shoe, that's the closest thing if you can't get anything else. But when you are young and you've got a nappy bag, put that rod that you used, whatever it is, put it in your nappy bag and carry it with you, that you always have it with you. But when you're older, you don't always have it. Even if you just take out your shoe, but never use your hand, because your hand is a symbol of love. It's a symbol of love. And you never want them to associate your hand with a punishment. The interesting thing is, who of you did not try to hide the rod, whatever it was? I remember when we were little, we had a wooden hairbrush. My mother used a wooden hairbrush. Man, those hairbrushes, they were quite something. They would burn. They really did the trick. And we hid that. We hid it so that she couldn't find it. I mean, how stupid can you be to think that she would not take something else? We thought if we could just hide that one hairbrush, all the problems would be gone. End of the problem. Yippee, there's a new one. So you will find that children never associate it with you almost if you take an implement, whatever it is. And that's the interesting thing. So be careful of that one, not your hand. It's a symbol of love. Instead of the rod, you could, of course, take something away from them. For some children, especially when they get older, let me just say this again, because the word also talks about the rod or something that you use to spank them. I like that. For the simple reason, it's quick and it's over. Okay? It's not a process where we think about this punishment and it's all drawn out. It's quick and it's over, and we put it in the past and it's finished. It's over. But it doesn't always work that way. As they grow older, especially after this phase, the suckling phase, and they go into the child phase, and definitely we do not spank anymore in the young adults. So especially in this child phase, we start realizing there's things that's important for a child. You can take things away from them. You can maybe not let them have sweets if they haven't had their food. Definitely not have them have sweets if they haven't finished their food. All right? So I would prepare the same food again, and that comes to the next thing. You can maybe give them something again and again until they take it, which would be food or something. So you can do either or as punishment. So I would prepare the same food secretly because I'm scared that it's gone off, but that child will not know that it's not the same plate that I have put in front of them. Because the word says, eat what's given to you and be grateful for that. And especially if you go to other people, you go to a friend's house, or if we go to people who do not know the Lord, and they've put their best for you on the table, and you say, I don't eat that. You know, that's quite an insult. That's really an insult. You want to come to them with the love and the acceptance of Christ, and your child goes, I don't eat that. Now, I know it's not always easy, especially if we talk about mission situations. But if we just talk about ordinary food that we are having at a friend's house, that's not quite the same as what we eat at our home, but it's still acceptable, recognizable ingredients and food that we might also have maybe in just a different form on our own tables. So I told my children, you eat what's put in front of you. Maybe you won't have to eat all of it. Or maybe you don't have to eat as much as the child who does like that food, but you have to at least try. You have to at least try. They say if you do not, give a child or expose them to different kinds of food before the age of 1, which is quite young. We think of them as tiny babies. Oh, shame, they will not eat this. No, let's not give them this. They say what they're not exposed to before 1, they will most probably not eat at least through their child years. So if you don't expose them to a variety, to everything that we eat, they will not eat it. unless they are maybe the adventurous type who enjoys different and strange things. But you may have a problem. So expose them as soon as possible to as much as possible so that they will be able to eat that. I help them. If I saw that the child really finds it hard to eat a specific food, just give a little bit, not give too much. The one next to them will say, oh, give me extra, and you give extra, and the other food you do the same, vice versa. So it's normally not a problem. But help them out. Don't be difficult with this. But you'll be surprised. We have this funny thing that I maybe can tell you. I remember one day, our son was actually playing with that little, what do you call that jelly, little bone of the chicken? That's not the one that looks so white. It's what do you call that substance? So, but he was playing as if it's a little snail. And our one girl, I could see that child go like this, just thinking that a snail was over his plate. And but she was having trouble eating her green stuff. The green veggies is until today is a huge problem. So I said, but just you've got to eat the green beans. And no, she sat there, and we were cleaning the dishes later after lunch, and she was still sitting there. And so I said, well, you're going to eat it now or tonight, but you're going to have to eat it. So she decided, no, let's sit here. But she's sitting there. And I said, later on, I decided, okay, now I'm going to help her. So I said, all right, you know what, divide it in two, and I'll have, and obviously the brother is always hungry, so I said, your brother will eat half of it. And she, quite clever, the brain cells, she divided it in 1/3, 2/3, not half, thinking, of course, that she'll have the third. So he sees it, and he comes along with that little snaily thing of his, and he goes over the small part. And I see that child. She's like, oh, this is terrible. She grabs the fork. She eats that 2/3 heap. Like in seconds, it's gone. Before he can claim the small third, which now the snail is gone, the snail has gone over. She eats that 2/3. And you just realize that, you know what, actually it's not so hard after all. There it's gone, few seconds. So, yeah, you must just have the authority to say, I'll help you, but you have to eat your food. Good, so you can take something away. You can take television time away, or you can take, especially now with electronics, take the electronic stuff away, because they become addicted to it. It's not good anyway. Restrict it, and we'll talk about it in just one of the sessions on its own about that. But take it away as punishment. It works. It definitely works. They can't live without it. They'll do anything to get it back. They'll be obedient. You'll find they will be. You can isolate them. We have the thing about sitting in a corner that teachers now use a lot, especially children that are very emotional. I will not punish them by locking them in a room. That's not what I'm talking about. That, in my eyes, is completely unacceptable. I will never condone that. You leave the door open. You take them by the hand, and especially a child that is very emotional, and they keep on crying and being difficult about a situation. You put them on their bed, and you tell them, just calm yourself. Stay here until you're fine again, and then you can come back to us. So you leave the door open, and you put the responsibility in that child's hand. So you calm yourself, then you come back to us. And that works. With a child that would more easily sulk, go into, retreat into themselves, don't ever do that. You will find that if you put them away in their beds, they're just there by themselves, and they enjoy being by themselves. It's no punishment. So for them, definitely spank them, or take something else away. Don't leave them on their own, because as they grow older, that kind of child actually starts sulking. And they start thinking negatively about, me being punished, and poor me, and having to sit here, and the rest of the story just starts growing bigger and bigger as it grows older. Okay, you can give them extra work. Give them extra work as punishment, especially when they're older. It can work well. Work that they will have to finish before they can do whatever they want to do. I think that speaks for itself. Now, what do we punish? What is the subjects? What is the things that we want to discipline them on? I made a little thing for myself to make this easier. There's just about 3 points that I want to stress. The first thing is, and let me just write it here, maybe. Number 1, what do we discipline? We can write it here. What do we discipline? Number 1, on authority. This is not negotiable. Authority is all around us, and it is so part of our lives. Number 1, we must be obedient to God. Number 2, we must be obedient to our parents. Number 3, there is a government out there. Number 4, if they go to school, if they go on the roads, if they go anywhere, authority is what keeps our society in place. It's what protects our freedom. We spoke about that. So I really don't want to go into all that again and waste time on that. But authority is really incredibly important. So I will not, if I can remember to just do it in time and not before I'm all worked up. You know how mothers can get all emotionally worked up. They warn and they warn and they warn. So that's rule number 1. You do it, you warn once, you tell a child one time, this is not allowed. Don't do that. When they disobey, you immediately give them the consequences. Don't try and say, oh, shame, no, you forgot. Let me say again, don't touch this. No, there's immediate consequences. Okay? The quicker they understand that you're only going to talk once and warn them once, the quicker this whole process goes. And the quicker there's peace and quiet in your house. No more problems. So before you're upset, remember you've got to stay calm. So you speak once, you're in authority, you say, this is the rule. Not going to happen. And let me promise you, a 6, 7, 8-month-old baby will understand even if you say, don't do that again. They understand that. I promise you. Especially if there's a little bit of consequence. Okay, remember, we're not going to give them this intense punishment. Must just sting. They must just feel this is not nice. I don't want this. They get the message immediately. They will not touch that thing again. So I could leave my year-old children with a newborn baby because they would not scratch. You know how babies can grab hold of you and it hurts. They actually can hurt a lot. I would never allow them even to hurt me because it's disrespectful. I don't care who it is, if it's me. But, well, I'm the one who's training them. So better if they hurt me, then I can teach them. Simple. So I would take their hand and I would hold it open. I would fold it open and I would say, no, softly, softly. Just take me now. That's nice. That's nice. See? And I would do the same on their own face as well. With pets, with other children, with babies, I don't care what it is. The moment they want to grab on and hurt, I would take their hand, open it, and just rub gently and show them this is the way we do this. And of course, if they don't get the message and they hurt someone then the hands must now burn. Let me just say that as well. When they're in this phase, and they are until about 18 months, between 18 months and 2 years, you can punish them right where they are. I always say at the scene of the crime. They don't understand if you take them away to the bathroom. There's too much time. You've changed the scene and they don't know what you're punishing them about. But you must punish them right. They took this and you didn't want them to take it. So do it right there, then and there. Say, don't touch this. And before 18 months, it's really kind of useless to hit their behind if they have touched here. Watch a child of that age if you try that. They look back at you and they frown. And then they go back to what they were doing. Have you seen that? You've seen a mother, trying to spank a little baby, a young baby, especially under a year, and they're touching something, and they spank their behind, and they frown. They look behind them. What happened there? And most mothers don't spank hard enough, so didn't hurt even. So they look back, and they carry on. And the mother is like, I've got a very strong-willed child. You know, this is hard. This is really, really hard. And I'm like, who are you fooling? You're doing this all wrong. That child did not understand the message. Number one, this child was reaching out. They're very young. They now have to learn. So the thing that was offending was their hand. Like we said, pen or a pencil, just give them a brisk spank on the hand with that pen or pencil. It burns, it stings. They don't like it. They understand this thing must not take hold of this. They get the message. All right? As they grow older, you can spank them on their bottoms, and they'll get the message. After 18 months, 2 years, you'll see there's an awareness of I'm amongst people, and everyone saw what happened to me. Suddenly you see there's a change. After that, don't do it in public again, ever. Okay? You take them aside, but then they understand. You can take them away and you can explain what you did. Don't do that again. And you can spank them or punish them, whatever you want to do, or talk to them. But not in public after 18 months, 2 years. It depends on the child. It differs from child to child. All right, so we talk to authority. If I speak normally, at a normal tone of voice, and my child is playing on the other side of the room, and there's a lot of people talking, kids know their parents' voices. Have you seen that? And I just sit here and I say, no, don't do that. I don't have to raise my voice. In fact, if I've raised my voice, it defies the purpose. If I just speak normally and I say, don't do that, and actually the one who's offending, they will immediately look up at you with that guilty expression. They know they've done wrong, and they will stop doing that. If at the tone of your voice, a child stops doing what they were doing and they react immediately, you have a disciplined child. You have been successful in some areas. Okay? You don't have to scream. You don't have to shout. We do sometimes, if we get upset. That's why I say just warn once and then get the punishment. Don't be all worked up. It's not necessary, but just do it immediately before you get worked up. Get the rules in place, and then you have a calm, peaceful home where everyone knows what they're supposed to do. They know the boundaries, and immediately if the boundaries cross, there's consequences. We handle the consequences. We go back to what we've been doing, and that's it. Okay? So after the age of 3, if you've done this, like we said, they know what's right and wrong. If you've done this right, and consequently, until there, most probably you'll only have to spank once in 6 months, maybe once a year later, maybe once in 2 years. I'm serious, people. This is the amount that I had to spank my older children in the child phase. The suckling phase, the strong-willed one, 10 times a day would be an average. And I had to stick to that. The one who's very compliant, though, I would just look at her and say, no. And she would cry her heart out. Okay? She will never, ever do that again. That was a nice baby to try. Although I must say it's very tiring if they go all emotional on you for a tiny little thing you're just trying to say, please don't do that. So later on you're begging them, please don't do that, because she's going to go so upset on you. Okay? And the strong-willed one, you're like, please don't do that. I'm so tired of spanking you. This isn't nice anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. And they just keep going because you're a challenge. You're a challenge. But if you consequently do that, you will find out your child's maybe not as strong-willed as you thought they were. Okay? Because most parents nowadays think their kids, all children are strong-willed if I talk to the parents. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. You don't understand the concept. You have no idea. You just have an undisciplined child, and now you think the child is strong-willed. Just be careful of that. Okay. It's not a cop-out. Good. So they have to listen. So once you get the authority thing in line, I once said to a little girl come into my house, and she did something, and I warned her. I said to her, I said, oh, no, don't do that. And she said, no. And I was so shocked that this child can say no to me. A 2-year-old can say no. I was so shocked. I fell down to her level, and I looked her in the eye, and they say, there's not a child who says no to this lady, to this Tannie. Do you get that? And she looked me in the eyes. I mean, I'm right here with her, and I told her, you don't say no to me. She said, no. And I'm so sorry. I told the mother, and my hand just all by its own accord. I'm telling you, I had no control over it. My hand just went around against all that I told you. Don't use your hand. And I gave her once, nice one. And she looked at me and she was so shocked. And that was the end. Years and years later, that child comes into my home. She abides by my rules. Her mother comes in. She's under her mother's rules. In my house, she does whatever I want her to do. And we are great friends. But in her mother's house, it was a different story. And she's so strong. She's so strong. She's a very nice child. She's a very, very obedient child. You just have to be strict. Never had any problems with her again. Right. Then the next point is responsibility to others. Responsibility to others. We have a responsibility. I want to train them on their responsibility to others. Now, if we can take this whole thing now and also just to make it simple for ourselves, sorry that, you still see that. If we can now do the following, remember we spoke about us being body, soul, and spirit. Just to make it simple for ourselves, maybe you'll understand a bit better if we do this. And we say we are created body, soul, and spirit. If you can just think of it like that. It's almost like we are three people in one. Okay? The only part that maybe is not quite a little person is maybe the soul. If I can just write here under it, this is the body, soul, and spirit. The word says that, we will recognize each other. They still knew Jesus had his spiritual body after he was raised from the dead, and they recognized him. He looked just like he used to look. All right? So I believe our spirit looks like our body looks. But it is just a spirit. Okay, so we can say we're three people in one. And in each area, we have to be trained. Each of these three people have to know what they have to do. They have to be mature, each of them. Now, if we look at the body, and we're talking about other people now, remember we spoke about protection. We have to protect other people. Oh, this one. Sorry, can you still see that? This one's maybe a bit thicker. Okay, so if we're talking about other people and telling children to protect their friends, that means they cannot just harm each other. You get that? They cannot just, it's about their body. They cannot physically hurt each other. They are responsible for other people, not just for themselves, so they cannot just harm each other. So they will maybe try to bite. They will tug their hair. They will hit them. They will kick them, do things, not be careful and observe what's happening, and even sometimes innocently harm someone else. I will not necessarily punish that, but we will talk about it and say, you can't just run over everything and everyone. Be careful. Next time we will maybe punish that if they do that again. Because some kids are like that. They just see the end and they don't care what happens in between. They run over everything and everyone just to get to the end. So if you know the personality types, those are the Ds, and they do that. They literally do that. For them, you have to train them not to do that. So they must take care of other people and protect them. Now, when they are young, obviously, it's a lot about that physical thing, and they have to not kick the physical things we've spoken about. As they grow older, though, if I can maybe just say with our kids, they would maybe have an argument, all right? They would fight. In the smaller phase, in the suckling phase, it would be very physical. They will bite and pull each other's hair, and when they fight, they can become physical. It's the body. When they grow older and you are now training them, you will discover an interesting thing. Now they discover, now they can shout and scream at each other. Okay, so the fights now become far more verbal. Do you see the change? As they grow older, they go into the child phase, they become more verbal. So it's more on a soul phase or a soul level. And they will call each other names. They will say, where, I'm stronger than you, things like that, even just hurtful things that we allow our children to do, but is that a nice thing? Is it nice to do that? I thought, well, I don't like someone doing that to me, so I told my kids, don't you dare do that. That's not nice. Don't do that. Okay? I don't like that. Would you like that? No, they don't. So then don't do it to anyone else. You've got a responsibility to other people. So now it's more verbal. Then you teach them, no, that's also fighting. Not supposed to happen. Then they grow older, and guess what now? Now they maybe get to the young adult phase. And you stand in a room, a lot of you and a lot of these young adults, and suddenly you get these vibes. And you realize they're actually strongly disagreeing with one another, but there's emotion there. This is a fight. Okay? It's not just a disagreement. There's a lot of emotion, but they are so clever because now they know it's not allowed. They moved it to a different level. They moved it to the spirit level. And they still actually fighting, but it's just on a very higher level. So to understand that the same thing gets carried on and on when they grow older, from the child from the suckling to the child to the young adult, and you have to be there in each phase and see how to facilitate that phase. Okay. The other thing is that for the body is they have to take care of wrong pen. They have to take care of others. Oh, it is the sorry. Thought it was the other one. Okay. Not only do they have to protect them, in other words, not fight and break or harm or hurt, they have to take care. They have to respect. We talked about respecting other people's things. Not just other people, but also their things. So don't break the other child's toys. It's his toys. He loves that toy. How would you feel if your friend breaks your favorite toy? You won't feel good about it, so don't do the same. Even if he breaks yours, don't break his. Okay? Do to others what you want done to yourself. So you actually have to sit down and teach these children these things. And I've punished it. In our home, for me, because we were also a big family when I grew up, me and my siblings, and we used to fight all the time. And when we started having children, I said to Anu, I would rather not have any children the way it was if it's going to be the same. I would rather not have any children. But I know I also want a lot of children. I know you want to. So now we have to say, how will we stop this from being the same? And the one thing that we decided was, they are not allowed to fight. We treated it with more consequences almost than most other things. They were not allowed to fight. We would immediately punish them. If something is wrong, come to me. We will help you sort out this problem. If someone is hurting you or doing something you don't like or treating you unfairly, come to mommy and daddy and we will sort out this thing. Okay? I strongly disagree with parents and people who say that kids must just sort it out. Fight it out, sort it out. You must learn how to do that. How do they learn to do it if we don't show them? So my agreement is that you come to me, if you don't know how to, without fighting back, you come to me and I'll help you sort it out. In other words, I will show you how to do it the right way. We sort it out, we decide what's fair so that everyone is happy. We punish the person who started it or who hurt you or harmed you in any way. But if you do not do that and you fight back, you are both guilty. So both will be punished and I will still go in and sort it out because obviously you didn't know how to handle this. See? So rather come to me before it's a problem and I will help you sort it out, although the guilty one will get their reward. Okay. I think anyone can do that. The thing is, do you want a peaceful home or don't you? No one wants a house where the kids are always fighting with each other. It's not nice.
If the neighbor's kids and you and the neighbor have problems, and the neighbor's kid is bullying your kid.
Yeah, well, obviously, if you have the same attitude with a neighbor, then it won't help. But even if I can live in that Christianity and any child can come into our home and I can have the same agreement, we don't have to fight. Come to me. But if my kids understand this, they will immediately come to me. Obviously, I won't punish the other child, but I will still go into the situation and I will still handle it. I will still sort it out so that, or to the best of my ability, so that everyone is pleased. But I will stop the argument. But the thing is, it takes energy and it takes your time. And it's not always nice. It's not comfortable to always have to go and sort it out. So most parents just give up and say, oh, let them just sort it out. But you're not training them. And next week we'll talk a lot about how this whole process of discipling them. But for now, just you have to understand, if you want the benefit, you will have to put in the effort into the situation. Then they have, on the soul side, the soul is actually incredibly interesting. Since we are running a little bit out of time, I would just combine the next two. Let me just get the pen again. They have responsibility to others, and number 3, responsibility to themselves. Let me just to self. I'm not going to get anything else in there. All right, so they have responsibility to themselves. Now, if we talk about the body and then we add ourselves, then we talk also about hygiene. Hygiene. I hope it's the same. Hygiene, rest, food. The interesting thing is, or the sad thing is, it's the things we don't want to fight about that we have to discipline our kids on. Isn't that the truth? About eating their food, eating the healthy food, about going to bed, about taking a bath. You know, there's a stage in each child's life where they just dislike taking a bath. It's really a problem. You have to drag them there. You have to threaten them. You have to really just come up with good excuses to get them to take a bath, and then they will probably do it half. Especially in the child phase, they will jump in and out in less than a minute, and you realize there's no way they could have done all they should have done while in the bath. You got them there, but it's not done properly. So remember again, it's training. It's training. Once they understand they will not get away with it, they won't do it again. Maybe there will be some who will try again and again, but if you stick to the rule and they put their foot over the line and you stop them from doing that, they will soon realize it's not going to happen and they will relax. They will not do that anymore. So the quicker you are consequent, the sooner the problem goes away. The soul. Now the soul, I really want us to be there for a moment. The soul consists of 3 things. If I can just make pictures so that you will hopefully remember this. The soul consists of, and I know most of you know this. It consists of the will, the mind, thinking. Can you see that's a nice thought bubble? And the emotions. Now, if we are consequent with our kids, if we do the discipline thing just per se, we all understand that the will be challenged. You are challenging that child's will. Because the will says, I want to do it my way, and you say, no, you're not going to do it your way, you're going to do it our way. Mommy and Daddy decided in this house, this is the rule, we are the government here. This is how it's going to happen. Sorry for you. One day you will be old and you will have your own home and you can make the rules. For now, you're in our home. And the sooner they come in with their will, the sooner they can start enjoying things and start growing. Because the will is the first thing that must be settled. And if you settle that before the age of 3, even it can be settled before a year. But it just depends on you and the child and how consequent you are. But at least by 3, they must know this. Then that one is settled, and that's fine. Then the mind is the one that we said in the child phase, we give the mind knowledge, because if you do not know what to do and how to do it, how will you be able to do it? So we give them a lot of knowledge. We fill their minds with especially the words so that they know how to live and how to do things. That's another part of the soul. And then comes the tricky one. And I have not heard many people talk ever about training the emotions. We don't ever talk about that. I never found that we were trained. Our will was trained, and we were given information, whichever information, enough or not, we were given information, but never were our emotions trained. Now, the emotions is an interesting thing. The emotions is supposed to color life. The only thing is, we live by our emotions. Our emotions, in the end, tell our souls what to decide and what to do. Because if we feel happy, we decide, all right, then I will do this. This feels good, so I will do this. So the will goes after the emotions. Okay? Regardless of what I know is good for me, if it doesn't feel good to me now, I will still do the wrong thing. So I need to train my child, and we can talk about the emotions, I think, for hours and hours, because it's quite an amazing subject. But we have to know that in the first phase, it's more or less just the will that you have to train. Then you go into the knowledge part, and with a young adult, suddenly the emotions are all there. Not that the emotions haven't been there before, but it was never such a focus. Now, especially with puberty and all the changes happening in their bodies, suddenly the emotions is a reality. And they start living by that emotion. Have you ever got up in the morning, you went to bed all happy, you had a party, you had a nice visit with friends and family, or a nice party, you went out, you did something you really loved doing, you're tired, you got to bed, you get up the next morning, you still had enough sleep, and the next morning you just feel icky. You feel irritated, you don't feel nice, you really don't want to get up out of bed even. You know, life suddenly doesn't feel good. Can you explain it? Is there a reason? Mostly not. Then why? There's scriptures in Psalms that says, where it says, to quiet yourself. There's an interesting scripture, Psalms 131 verse 2 says, surely I have behaved and quieted myself. I've behaved and quieted myself. As a child that is weaned of its mother, my soul is even as a weaned child. Ek moet my siel, my emosies leer beheer. En vir myself sê, hierdie ding wat ek nou beleef, is nie die waarheid nie. Daar's geen rede nie. There's no reason whatsoever. There's no reason for this. I just don't feel so good. But it's just whatever. Something happened. I think a lot of it is just temptation, whatever you call it, but we must learn to control our emotions and decide it's not the truth. I think especially for us women, we talk a lot about the women and our cycles and going up and down through the month and different things we experience. I can't take it out on my family. Can't take it out on my husband. For me, it's a very big reality in my life. For me, it's always been a huge reality. I would just wake up, be so irritated. You know what? Not with anyone else, with myself. I'm so irritated, I can scream. I just have to grab hold of myself and say, now you take hold of this emotion, whether it's physical or not, I don't care, but it's not the truth. God is in control. He blessed you. This is a blessed day. Get up, get out there, and tackle it. Okay? Might not be so easy as yesterday. Might be there's a physical reason, but still not enough reason for innocent people in your home to suffer because of what you're going through. Take hold of your emotions. Take hold of them and discipline them. Now you have to start disciplining yourself. So when they go into the young adult phase, it's incredibly important to explain to them the role of emotions and for them to discern between truth and fiction. Number one, maybe it's the truth maybe you are now in a certain time of whatever cycle you are experiencing in your life, in puberty and all these changes, but it doesn't matter. Take control of it and discipline yourself, because no one else deserves what you are giving them now. We don't deserve that. Take control of it. Very important. Then with the Spirit, we have a responsibility to other people to help them spiritually, to speak into their lives, to help children from a very young age to start praying for others, to look out for the needs of others. And then, of course, for their own needs. Spiritually, we will talk about their relationship with God, how they see the spiritual world, to help them to experience that and to explain that, to go to gatherings for Christians, to be exposed to all that. No, I don't feel like it today. Oh, please, Mommy, can I stay in bed and sleep in? No, that's a rule in our house. My husband just told the kids, we will go to church on Sundays, whether you feel like it or not. If you are sick, we will take the medicine, we will take the blanket and your pillow, and you can go lie down, but we all need to go, so we will go, and you will be safe there. If you lie down at home, you can just as well lie down at church. So he always says that's the reason why our kids seldom got sick on a Sunday, whereas many parents' kids get sick on a Sunday, because obviously then no one attends church. He just said, I'm so sorry, but it's not going to happen. You're going to go anyway. And they would lie down and they would just be there, and I give them medicine, because what's the difference whether they lie there or at home, unless it's of course something that can be contracted by everyone else, and then we protect other people by staying at home, obviously. Contagious. Good. So that's about what I wanted to talk about in that. 3/4 of this process is finished by the age of 13. 3/4. It's a long time. 13 years is a long time. But you know what? Sometimes life just goes by, day by day, by another day. And one day you wake up and that child is 13 and you realize, I have not done what I should have done. And believe me, it happens to all of us. Even if you focus on it, you wake up and you realize, oh my goodness, with this child or that child, I missed out this or that, and I did not do that. Well then, try and put it in. Explain to the child, I'm sorry. I must confess to you, I made a mistake. Will you forgive me that I made a mistake? But that thing in your life needs to be addressed. I'm so sorry about it. I'm sorry I missed out on that. But let's talk about it. Let's go back to that. And yes, but that is the discipline. So it is not so difficult. If you are consequent and if you do these things, you can really start living life. It's not just a battle. They can start focusing on doing things together. You can become a family who enjoys each other, who loves each other, and who looks out for each other. You can trust your kids that they will mostly make the right decisions. And if they do make a mistake, that's okay. You're still growing. I understand. Just don't do it again. But for yourself, you know it will probably happen again. Just don't be negative about it. Realize they're young. They will take a chance or two. They will make certain that the boundaries are still in place. And then just give them the consequences. So if you can hold on to that, it's really very simple. And very soon everything is over, and you can have a great life with your children. Thank you. Next time we will look at discipleship, discipling my child. Really this process. What does this process entail? How would you look at that? Thank you.